Good morning, everyone. Good morning. What a beautiful day. And what a beautiful place, right? I don't know about you, I can't stop smiling. This is just gorgeous. Thank you for being here today to commemorate the signing of 5 bills. And there probably could be more, but we're going to focus on 5 today that are going to help Oregon build the housing that Oregonians need and build them with the urgency that Oregonians deserve. Because we know what the crisis is, we need to keep going. The bills I'm going to sign today are crucial to breaking down those barriers that are out there to keeping us from doing more housing construction. And these bills are going to bring down the cost of housing, which is really, really important. How we do construction affects also the final affordability of those homes, and it's important. I want to thank Habitat for Humanity for hosting us here today at Century Commons. This is amazing. Thank you this is such a fantastic site. Really, really beautiful homes. And I also want to thank everyone who is here today that has been a partner in the advocacy that has been necessary to have these types of bills assigned today. You have been fighting the uphill battle with us the last couple years to continue to put more tools out there to help communities build homes. And we wouldn't be here without your help. So thank you for joining us in the celebration. We know that too many Oregon families are struggling with the cost of living and are being forced to make really impossible choices. Staying in the communities they love and where they work or their kids go to school, or trying to find a place they can afford. We want them to not have to make those choices. And in too many cases, the state's lack of affordable housing pushes Oregon families out of their homes altogether into really untenable couch surfing situations, or worse, on the streets because they cannot find a place that they can afford. The housing affordability crisis not only deepens our homelessness crisis, it's at the core of the crisis that we are facing. And it's an economic crisis as well. When Oregonians cannot afford to live where they work or cannot find housing options that align with their needs, our economy suffers and employers lose potential hires. Basic services face chronic workforce shortages, and new industries in our state struggle to get off the ground. As you all know, the state has not produced enough housing at the right price points to match Oregon's needs. This is the result of decades of underbuilding and red tape that slows or stalls housing production, making building more expensive and the cost to Oregonians go up. To turn the tide on this, and what we're doing today takes creative, practical solutions to increase the supply of homes as fast as we can. And this year, the Oregon legislature, with all of your help, answered that call. The legislature passed bold, bipartisan policies that offer clear solutions to our crisis. So today, I'm signing 5 bills. House Bill 2138 will legalize and speed up the production of middle housing to not only give Oregonians the housing options that suit their lives, but also lower the price of housing for everyone. I'm signing House Bill 2258, which will create pre-approved building plans, we called it Oregon Homes, making approval processes faster and more efficient, and eliminating barriers to build more small apartments, single-unit homes, duplexes, townhomes, and other middle housing options. Both of those bills, those 2 bills, really lean into the most feasible housing production within our urban growth boundaries that we can do right now. And it's going to make a difference for families across our state. Because when we build more kinds of homes, those seniors who are living in a large home and want to downsize in their community, they're going to have different options. When those young families can afford to buy that starter home close to schools and stores and parks and their jobs, they will be more successful for first-time home buying. And when our essential workers, like our teachers and our nurses and our firefighters, can afford to live in the community they serve, we all benefit. I'm also signing House Bill 3031 today, which creates the Housing Infrastructure Project Fund. And that is designed to invest resources in the transportation and water and sewer and other site development that's necessary to build new housing. In some communities, it's just too difficult to build new homes because they don't have the basic infrastructure in place. This new project fund is going to provide that tool to get us on the path for more infrastructure in these communities that want to build new homes. I'm also signing Senate Bill 684, which was championed by Senators Confam and Dick Anderson, and House Bill 3145, championed by Representative Pam Marsh. Senate Bill 684 creates the Construction Revolving Loan Fund, a new tool to provide long-term financing for mixed-income residential housing. We have to build all types of housing at different price points to get to the solutions we need in communities. House Bill 3145 will set aside $25 million in bonding to build factory-produced modular housing, which can be built faster and at a lower cost than traditional construction. And I just want to remind people, we've invested in companies in Oregon that do this type of construction work right now. And with that extra $25 million, we're going to get more of those homes out in communities. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. We need modular. We need traditional stick. We need more middle housing. We need all of those things. And these 5 bills together will get us there. The legislature did a tremendous job. They came into session knowing they needed to work on housing, and they worked with my team in my office every day during session to make sure we could have a successful session for housing construction. To have more tools and more resources coming forward to address our housing supply crisis, we are going to move forward, and this is a watershed session in that regard. And so before I close and give up the podium to our my other guests here today who are going to speak as well, it's important to remember that Oregon's housing affordability and supply crisis will not be solved overnight. Today's not a victory lap. I believe in celebrating, but it's just for a day. And then we're going to get back to work because we have a lot to do. We have to appreciate the hard work and dedication that gets us here. We have to identify those tools and resources and continue the work tomorrow to make sure that we can keep building, keep marching towards a future where every Oregonian has a place they can afford, and make sure no Oregonian has to sleep outside. This today is about that journey forward. This is a great day to celebrate, and I really want to appreciate everyone who's here and the folks who are going to speak from their experiences of why this is important, and thank you all for being here. And with that, I would like to have Senator Confam join us. Then she'll be followed by Tillamook County Commissioner Aaron Scarr, Deb Flagan from Hayden Homes, and then Brett Deary, a homeowner from Central Oregon. So, Senator Pham.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Con Pham. I'm proud to represent Northeast and Southeast Portland, Senate District 23, and also serve as the Senate Chair of the Housing and Development Committee. First off, I want to thank Governor Kotek for her leadership and her laser-focused vision on how do we tackle the twin crises of housing and homelessness in our state. And we know that there are too many families right now who are unable to afford a roof over their head or find a home that really meets their needs and the needs of their family, because we simply don't have enough housing. And when there's too much competition for the scarce and dwindling number of homes, then of course prices go up, rents go up, and housing prices go up. And so I really just want to appreciate the work that Governor Kotek and the stakeholders that she's brought together have brought to figuring out how do we increase housing supply, how do we remove the barriers that are currently standing in the way of Oregon building enough homes to meet the needs of Oregonians at all ages, wages, and stages of life. So I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the bills. In our conversations with developers and with home builders, one of the big obstacles that we continuously heard was the increasing rate of inflation and the increasing rates of financing that are really preventing developments from penciling. Projects that used to pencil out even a few years ago are no longer penciling because of the high interest rates. And so Senate Bill 684 will actually establish well, actually, it doesn't establish the fund, but establishes some of the planning and policy work needed so that we can eventually start giving out lower interest rate loans to spur mixed income developments. These are developments that include both market rate and affordable, and we've seen this successfully launched in communities including Montgomery County, Maryland, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Atlanta, Georgia. This has been through this revolving loan fund that offers lower interest rate loans. We've seen thousands of new units being produced that are penciling without depending on federal LIHTC tax credits, which we know are extremely competitive and oversubscribed in this moment. So I just want to thank Governor Kotek for her leadership in really working with the legislature, because this is just one tool. We know that we can't, not one tool is going to solve all of it, and so I really just appreciate her partnership and also my legislative colleagues' partnership in coming up with solutions that include everything from infrastructure financing to modular homes with Rep. Marsh's leadership to what was it? Modular housing. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the third point. Oh yeah, getting rid of the regulatory, kind of bureaucratic challenges that sometimes slow down and make the price of housing go up. So with that, I'm going to just, thank you. And I think this is just the start. I look forward to continue to work where we have a huge hole that we are sitting in because of decades of disinvestment in housing. And so I look forward to partnering with the governor as well as my legislative colleagues in continuing to push forward and building more housing for all Oregonians. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Erin Scarr, and I'm a Tillamook County Commissioner. When I started working on housing in Tillamook County back in 2015, we hadn't seen a new apartment complex or any sort of affordable development built for nearly 20 years. Most new construction was oceanfront property for people who would not live full-time in our county. We knew that our families, our seniors, and our workforce needed real housing solutions. So to get started, we worked with experts to help us understand why this much-needed housing was not being built, and then to provide us with a roadmap for action. Their first recommendation was that we identify a champion. They made it clear this work is complex, and without strong leadership, it simply will not happen on its own. So while Tillamook may not reflect the entire state, I believe some of the lessons that it gave us do apply statewide. Success starts with a champion. And for Oregon, that housing champion is Governor Tina Kotek. Thank you for taking this on with all of the rest of us. We couldn't do it without a leader. The second recommendation was to work collaboratively across city and county lines, because housing markets don't stop at the city limits. Third, they urged us to update our zoning codes to simplify where possible, to reduce costs and delays, and to expand the types of housing that would be available, especially middle housing. When I look at the bills that have been passed since Governor Kotek came on board, we've targeted exactly those things. So I am so excited that the state has taken the action to help us move forward. We can't do it without changes that happen at the state level in our communities, and they've listened, they've heard us, and they've made these changes. Since 2019, we've added over more than 180 housing units in Tillamook County. And we have another 150 in the pipeline. In addition to that, we have developers who have reached out and said, I understand you're updating your codes. I understand that duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, cottage clusters, that middle housing will be allowed outright very soon. When will that happen? I want to come to your county. So we're excited to see the impacts of the work that has been done, and with the new bills that are being signed here today, there's additional support for us to continue to move forward. We have been asked repeatedly in our community, why can't there just be a housing plan that I can adopt? Why do I have to go through all of this work with community development? So we are really excited about that housing plan approval. So once again, I would just like to thank Governor Kotek for her work in making housing available and affordable for families, seniors, and our workforce. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Flagan, and I'm Vice President with Hayden Homes. We are a regional home builder. We're based in Oregon, and we are committed to bringing housing that the area median income wage earners can afford across the state of Oregon. This year, we successfully launched 3 new projects. These projects were in housing-focused cities of the city of Albany, the city of Cottage Grove, and the city of Bend. And we were able to do just that. We were able to bring a new community to market that offered homes at 90 to 100% area median income to the area median wage earners. And we're very, very excited about being able to do that. There is no way that that would have happened without the legislation that has recently been passed. 2 years ago, there was legislation that zoning reform and an integration of mixed housing types through a bipartisan bill was passed, and that is why we were able to do this in 3 new communities. I want to thank Governor Kotek, first of all, for her courage on her first day in office to say that we have a problem and that we need to fix it. Secondly, for her leadership to say this is all of our problem and we can do it together. And thirdly, for her unwavering commitment to continue to address the severe housing shortage in our state. I also want to say thank you to her staff. I had the privilege to be on the Governor's Housing Production Advisory Council, and I was able to get to know a few of her staff members, and they're exceptional, and they work tirelessly long hours, and we're grateful for their commitment. Today's bill signing shows the continuation of support from our legislators on both sides of the aisle, committed to ensure that all Oregonians are housed. We, Hayden Homes, and the building community continue to be steadfast in our commitment to utilize these new housing bills, and we are focused on making sure that we can deliver these 36,000 homes for the goal so we can get to 36,000 homes for the next 10 years. Thank you.
Hello all, my name is Brett and I'm a homeowner in Bend, Oregon. That's a sentence I did not think I'd be able to say for at least a decade or possibly ever. Like in most of Oregon, homeownership is exceedingly expensive in Central Oregon. My wife Michelle and I were expecting our son Finn when we learned of a path to buying a home through an affordable housing nonprofit. We jumped at the chance, and through our efforts and opportunity provided by Rooted Homes, we qualified for a mortgage on a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house in Bend. But what does being a homeowner really mean? To our family, it's security and freedom that brings. We painted an accent wall in our home in a bright color, we bought window blinds in our favorite style, and we planted a garden bed on our front walk. These are improvements that we would never have considered as renters. Sure, we could do them, but it would be on someone else's property, not our own. We've added a shed to house our electric bicycles. Our son absolutely adores these bikes, and he often grabs his helmet near our front door in his eagerness to go riding. These are bicycles that we bought so we can ride around our neighborhood, and to the store, and to bakeries, and to concerts, and all the things that are within biking distance. We are near these things because we are part of the community we live in, and not because we commute from out far where we could afford those homes. It means being in town, which is a lot more than you would expect. You know, we feel we work in this community. We've added, not to mention that we have a fixed mortgage, which we can budget better and afford those bicycles and bakeries and concerts. I often hear fears that affordable housing automatically means the neighborhood will change in dramatic and unpredictable ways, but my experience has been the complete opposite. The families that have been living near a vacant lot for over a decade were curious and kind people who were supportive of our affordable development. And after my experience at Rooted Homes, I was rejuvenated and joined their board for 4 years. And after all of those years talking with family after family that is served by funding and legislation like Governor Kotek signed today, I only met people who were excited to fully join those communities. Thank you for all the support I've seen today, and thank you for creating real opportunities for other families to gain security and freedom like ours. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. So now we're going to sign some bills. We're going to get more homes for people to get and buy. So thank you, Brett, for being here. This is about folks having the security to know how their lives are going to be, how they're going to grow their families and have a place to live. And I want to again thank Habitat for Humanity. The families who are going to live here are going to have something we should all want for everyone here in the state. The predictability of a home, a community, a neighborhood, a place they can afford and grow. Many of us have had that in our lives, and we should want that for every Oregonian, and we're going to have that here with all the work. Let's go sign some bills. Thank you.
If you'd like to be behind the desk, if you want to be in the picture, if you want to join the governor, come on up.
Michelle and Finn, let's get you guys up here. Hey Roxy, when the governor does the media avail, is she gonna do it back there at the podium? Okay, I'm just gonna leave my mic up here.
Oh yeah, please do.
I just didn't wanna.
I don't think it's in the way.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to get forward out of the way at the very least.
I like the hammer. Well, call people in the back, short people in the front. All right, Governor, we've got them all lined up there with pens. Nice, the hammers.
All right, folks. If I could bring it in just a little tighter.
Brian's your director, everyone.
All right. I'm going to be taking the photo here, so
All right, we're taking photo. Okay, wait a minute, just a photo first before I
right.
start signing. Okay.
all right.
Everybody close enough?
You've got to be able to see the lens to make sure your face is in the shot. Here we go. Smiley faces on 3. 1, 2. One more. 3, 2. Okay.
Okay. All right, first one off the rack here. House Bill 2138. More middle housing everywhere.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, don't go anywhere.
Okay, keep it in close.
Watch out, all those unincorporated areas.
Okay, we're going to wait till we hold it up.
Okay. Next bill, 3031. The Oregon Infrastructure Finance Authority. Senator, we're going to get you some money. Yes, I agree. All right. House Bill 2258, Oregon Homes. Let's just make it easier and give people some plans, right? And thanks to the team from DLCD who helped with this. We really appreciate you.
Yay!
And Senate Bill 684. Oh, that's the, okay, nope, I had the wrong one. The other one was the infrastructure bill. This is Senator Pham's bill. We're going to get you more money.
Thank you.
There you go. Do you know what construction is about? Financing, all right. Okay. And then last but not least, House Bill 3145, our modular housing bill. Representative Marsh, I'm going to hold you accountable. Get us some more modular. Okay, fantastic. How do you want me to hold the bills? That's a little hard.
Yeah, we'll just,
Okay, I'm gonna fan it.
there we go.
I gotta play cards, okay. All right.
House of Cards.
All right, baby.
Full house,
Full house,
really.
all right.
Lot of
Okay.
How we doing? How's that look?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Okay, right here. 3, 2. One more. Okay.
Nice. Thank you, everyone. All right, final acts. We'll have, if you want to take a photo with the governor, you will be right here. Please line up to the stage. You see Marissa, she's got the black dress. That's the beginning of the photo line.
Yes. Yeah, I want to check in with her. I will give you a call because I've been working with Laura.
Big legislator photo.
Oh, yeah, here.
remember all the numbers.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's get started.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for celebrating housing in Oregon. Good to see you all. Roxy, yours.
Go ahead, Doug.
Hi, Shani Slaughter, K2. For the average person that's not here today that could be excited about reaping some of these benefits, but maybe don't understand how they could get these benefits, what would you say to that?
What we're doing in Oregon is clearing all the paths that are making it hard right now to build housing that you're going to be able to afford. When we're in communities and we're in existing neighborhoods, we want to build homes that you can afford as a first-time home buyer, that you could live in as a renter because the person who owns it can keep the rent at a lower rate because of the type of home it is, the townhomes, the duplexes, the triplexes. We want more people to own their homes and live in places they can afford. And the bills I've signed today are going to provide more guarantees that we can get there because we're just going to make it easier to build. And that will lower the price.
Hold on, we're gonna go to virtual if we've got them. No virtual. Where are you? All right, we'll go for it then.
Can I just follow up on the housing thing here? Just to follow up on the next thing with the housing issue for now. What happens if people can't afford the mortgage? People lose their job. People can't afford to stay in these. What kind of protections are there for them? In other words, sort of part B of all this.
Well, the housing crisis that is facing the state needs a lot of different solutions. First, we want to get people into homes that they can afford. If they are having financial challenges, making sure the programs that they need to get help with a mortgage or with rent assistance. Since the pandemic, we've had much stronger programs. We can always do more on that end, but I think at the beginning, if we can make sure that when someone rents or owns, it's something they can afford in the long term, they're going to be stable. They won't need those other programs. So what this is about today is making sure that point of whatever that cost is at the beginning is something people can afford for the long term. And that means more supply. If you don't have more supply, if we can't lower the cost of what a home costs, it's going to be hard to achieve that. So this is about getting on the front end of this. So hopefully people won't have those problems in the future.
Lowering property values when something like this comes into a neighborhood that is maybe a different look to the neighborhood and potentially lowers the property values because these are lower valued homes. What do you tell people about that?
Well, I think what we have seen when we're building within existing neighborhoods, the design standards are solid, they are safe, beautiful homes. If you look around today, Habitat for Humanity has built homes that are for all kinds of different households that fit into the neighborhood. I don't think it's going to affect the property value. In fact, more people are going to live in this community, and when this is a vibrant community, that increases everyone's property values, and I think that's what we're going to see.
All right, let's stick with housing topics for now. Go ahead.
Yeah, only housing.
So I have heard from builders who have said that it's local regulation that's really keeping the cost of construction up. We know that you were part of trying to help get Portland to cut those SDCs. Are you doing any work like that on the local level? Because what I'm hearing is it's the local regulations that are really tying up some of these builders.
Yeah, I think what we've changed here in Oregon is the way the state interacts with our local government, who at the end of the day are doing the local decision making and the zoning decisions. So the bills that we're doing is how do we explain to local communities, here's the easiest way to do it. We're trying to make this as simple as possible. Tools that you can employ locally to move forward. The bottom line is we've had some very difficult systems in place for many, many years, lots of red tape. These bills are about saying you can do this more simply, more directly. That's going to help local governments, approve things faster. So this is from the state, partnering with the local governments to say you can do this differently and better and faster. And right now, our next step, we have the Housing Accountability and Production Office at the state, the HAPO office. So they are now, for the first time, a state office that can work with local government and builders and say, why is this not working better? So we can help troubleshoot to get things into construction faster. That's brand new for the state. It's a new relationship. And local government wants this help because they want to build homes too. Increases their tax base, serves the folks who want to live there, serves the employers who need people. So this is a win-win for everyone with the approach that we're taking. The state's going to provide consistency. We're going to work with local government, and things are going to happen quicker. In the case of Portland, what we were hearing from developers who already had projects permitted. Because of high interest rates and other things, it was very difficult to get to that last bit of financing they needed to actually get to construction. The SDC waiver challenge in Portland for the next 5,000 units that will not have to pay system development charges. My expectation is those permitted projects will now be able to get to construction. And that's what we're doing now. We're going to talk to those developers and say, okay, we've given you a bit of a break. When are you getting to construction? Portland needs more units, and those developers have to get in the pipeline.
All
Go ahead,
right.
Alice.
President Trump
Hold
question.
on.
He recently signed an executive order regarding homelessness. How is that going to affect the state of Oregon?
So that executive order, as you know, came out on Friday, and it's pretty broad. It's everywhere from how we treat folks who are living outside to law enforcement to behavioral health services. We're still analyzing it. Here's what I would say in general. Here in Oregon, we're putting all of these things together. When someone is moving into shelter, we want to connect them to mental health and addiction services. We are holding folks up to get the services they need. And what I'm hoping from the federal administration, and I don't know if this will happen or not, we need more support. We need dollars to help us do the things we know are working. I don't need someone to come in and tell us you can't do things. What I need them is to be helpful. So I don't know if this executive order is going to be that, but if the president's very serious about this, we need resources to help us do the work we know works. And so we'll wait and see on that.
Go ahead, Alice.
This is a little outside of my wheelhouse, but I would hope you'd know more. How do you create a regulatory framework that gets ahead of the idea that we use public dollars to invest in more housing and protect it from private equity coming in and buying it up? I mean, obviously this is nonprofit supported, but no doubt some of the people taking advantage of this will build housing that becomes lucrative. I think it was like 13% of homes bought in Portland during the second quarter were by investors.
Yeah, so it's interesting so if you think about housing as a public good, it has a very large involvement from the private sector. It just has always been that way. But when we build housing in Oregon, and there is some level of public support in subsidies, there are laws on the books that if those homes ever change hands, for example, multifamily apartments, there is an opportunity to have someone else purchase it before it would go to a private sector entity. So we can get you more information on that. That's a piece of legislation I did a few years ago saying, like, if we put public support into something, we got to keep it in as much as possible in the affordability domain after 20 or 30 years, because usually you get that 20, 30 year range and then someone can buy it. We want to make sure it stays affordable, and there are laws on the books now to help protect that.
Is there any regulation coming down the pike that you would like that would just make it that would make it harder for a private equity firm or a private investor to buy multiple properties?
Well, I think what we're doing here in Oregon, because we are focused on a lot of locally based builders like Hayden Homes who are committed to Oregon, and we're giving them new tools to do more housing on their own. We're going to have people who are invested in our community differently. Now, we're never going to be able to stop all of the private sector purchasing of, maybe some large properties, but if we can do more of the small scale work that we're doing now with middle housing, it's also going to keep the resources and the ownership more local, and I think that's a priority for us.
Two quick questions, Governor. What made you decide to pause the DLCD's proposed draft rules?
Yeah, thank you for that. So that was on Friday. I think my comments were pretty straightforward. I believe we can uphold our land use values in the state and still support small and mid-sized farmers who have to have different ways of bringing in income. Agritourism in the state of Oregon is very successful. I think it upholds our land use values, but also make sure that those farmers are there year in and year out. Why I wanted to pause the rules is I think they were causing a lot of anxiety and frustration unnecessarily. I want to support our small and mid-sized farmers to be sustainable and be there for years to come. And it was the right thing to do to pause the rules until we can get this right.
We got a virtual. I'll come back to you. Virtual.
This is from the Oregonian. Jonathan Bach, for the HAPO, what is Joel Madsen's mandate from you in terms of holding local government accountable to their housing goals? How much do you want the office to emphasize accountability versus, say, encouragement?
I was looking for Joel. I think he had to take off. Otherwise, we could have Joel help with that answer. So the Housing Accountability and Production Office is both a helper and an oversight body. We have put a lot of tools in front of local government to build housing. I want to make sure that they're taking full advantage of them. So the technical assistance side of HAPO is really, really important in that regard, because not every local government has the same expertise or the same resources to be able to take full advantage of these tools. So the office is going to be helpful there. But when a community comes in and says, we want a waiver from this particular thing because we want to do it differently, my expectation for that office is that they're going to really look hard at that and say, is that the right approach to meet your housing production goals? And I would call out what we're doing on Senate Bill 1547 from last year's session. There's a process where cities can say, we want to have more flexibility. Cities have to show the office that their flexibility is actually going to help them meet their production goals. We have to be more intentional. Every community is now focused on their production strategies and the analysis of the needs that they have. We are going to monitor that, and what HAPO is going to do is make sure we stay accountable to the goals of more production across the state.
One last question about urban growth boundary here in the Portland area. We've heard the word barrier spoken today. That does limit the amount of space for housing in the Portland area. Any changes in any of these bills, or you expect to make any changes soon regarding the urban growth boundary that will open up more land?
Well, last year with the passage of Senate Bill 1547, we did give some limited options for communities across the state to say, hey, we can build more housing, but we need more flexibility on growing our urban growth boundary right now. And we have a handful of cities who are taking up that option, and I think that's going to produce more housing. What's important about the bills today, and even being in a place like this, because you can see the type of construction, is that within existing urban growth boundaries, whether within city limits or in unincorporated areas, we are now going to say this type of housing has to happen. You have existing infrastructure, you're within the growth boundary, so it's not a land use issue. This is about, we need more housing, zoned like this, that looks like this. These bills today are going to make that happen. And I think what people need to understand is when we have communities that have more housing for everyone, we're all going to be successful. And I think more people across the state are getting that. And we have developers who are ready to go today to build this type of beautiful housing.
Go ahead, Anselm.
Governor, you've mentioned, developers are ready to go. You have people that are eager to kind of get started on this. Are you able to quantify, or is there a set goal that you expect from these specific bills today?
I don't have an answer for that, but we can give you some more projections. Obviously, we have to build more housing every year for the next decade. And we know, and you might want to talk to Deborah from Hayden Homes, because she can talk about when she's had some of her projects, what it takes to go, like I originally thought we'd build this number of homes, but because we can build differently with different options, we get to more types of homes. So she can give you some numbers. But going forward, we'll have to try to, project some of that. We don't have those numbers today. So thanks for the question.
All right, I got time for two more questions. I know
You may have
got
answered this
one.
already, Governor. Will language changes for farmstead permit regulations be considered again?
Right now, all of the farm stand rules are on pause, and I don't know when we'll restart.
Anybody want the last one? Anyone want to fight for it? Anybody virtual? All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I want to see at home.
You may just give her my mic.
Are you with OPB?
No, KXL.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I don't take offense.